Who do we think's gonna have a big
Soto.
series?
I think Soto's
Soto.
gonna have a phenomenal series, phenomenal postseason, everything.
Soto.
I mean, he's proven it. He's done it. He's been great all year. He's made for this. It's Soto.
Philly Pride insists that's all. Andrew Rappin and Wild Bulls. Together they talk sports and dreams. Right behind the scenes. It seems. Philly versus NY. Hear the call. Who's the greatest? Who will fall with this rivalry? Loud and clear. Join the chat. It's time to cheer. Sports and culture all in one. Catch the fire, feel the fun. Andrew says that Brad unite. Philly and Y in the spotlight.
Hey everyone, welcome to our preview of the Yankees ALDS. I have a special guest with me today, fellow diehard Yankee fan, Greg DeSalvo. Greg, thanks for joining.
Hey, absolutely, Andrew. It's a pleasure. Been looking forward to it all day. Happy to talk some Yankees with you.
Getting into it. First off, let's talk about the excitement level right now. So we're recording this at about 21 hours, almost exactly 21 hours before first pitch. What's your excitement level right now? And at what point does that energy become a little bit nervous energy in your process?
It's already nervous energy.
Oh, really?
Honest with you. I'm so excited for it. I have been really excited for it for like a month now when it was, the Orioles were throwing up all over themselves and it was kind of inevitable that the Yankees were going to win the division at that point. Sistad's going to hate hearing this because I'm just going to sound like such a spoiled Yankee fan. But I've been just ready to get to the playoffs for a good amount of time now. And the closer that it comes, the more excited I get. But I am so fucking nervous. It's bad. It's not good. So it's
It really
a little
doesn't.
bit of both already.
That's interesting for me. Now we obviously approach things as diehard Yankee fans differently, right? You're not afraid to express your frustrations and say that you want guys fired and traded and gone, and
when they deserve it. When they deserve it.
Well, I mean, we disagree on when they deserve it, but I don't get nervous at all until like 10 minutes before the game starts. And all of a sudden I feel like right now it's just pure excitement, optimism. Then right before opening pitch, it's like, oh shit, are they not? I feel as a fan, I know you feel this probably even more than I do. There's like a sense of pressure. Like, we got to beat the Royals. We can't lose this series.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of, for me, that's why I'm nervous earlier than I would have been otherwise. So I'm the same as you. I'm going to get more nervous the closer that it comes when I'm, getting ready, when first pitch is about to come on and I'm sitting down to watch it. The nerves will be at the highest. I think for me, the nervous energy started when the Astros and the Orioles lost. Because
no excuses now, you feel like.
I mean, dude, it could not have lined up any better. It's the AL Central, who the Yankees have owned for years. I hate saying that. No, so if not now, then it's never happening. And I'll call for Cashman's head, which I have been doing for years already, and Boone and every single other person in charge.
I do think this is one of those seasons where it does seem like, Cashman's not going to be gone no matter what, but you know that. We don't need to get into that. But it does seem like one of those seasons where there's more pressure than normal. And I think part of it is because Soto's situation.
Yeah.
Part of it is because, Judge and Cole are getting older. And part of it is they didn't make the playoffs last year. So this idea that they're going to make the playoffs every year and they'll get them next year, I don't think it's as obvious. Like, they may not. It's not a guarantee they make the playoffs. We've seen it. We saw them miss it last year.
It shouldn't be a guarantee that they make the playoffs. We've obviously been extremely spoiled as Yankee fans for, we're about the same age, not the exact same age, but for basically our entire lives. They've missed the playoffs, like 3 or 4 times, I think, something like that.
Yep.
So, we've been incredibly spoiled in that regard. And to your point, there's a lot of uncertainty after this year. This is the window with Cole, with Judge in their prime, with Soto here. It's now. Like, the time is now. We've been told it's a crapshoot for the last 12 years.
A week American League.
When is it our turn to win the crapshoot? Like, if it's a crapshoot for everybody,
law of averages, the crap. Right?
Sure,
one of the Yankees, When
are they rolling 7? It was bad, but anyway. So it should be this year. There's no excuses why it's not this year.
Before we dig into the roster and everything else about the series, take me through what's your process in terms of watching these playoff games? Like what is game 1, 6:38, whatever it is tomorrow? What are you doing? You're in you're at home, you're in the living room, you're at a bar. What's your watching process?
I am home alone in my living room. I got some Italian cold cuts that I'll be having laid out on my coffee table and just sweating it out. That's what
Are
it's gonna
you
be for me.
a sitter? Are you like sitting on the couch? Are you like pacing?
I will. I mean, I'll start out sitting, but I will be up and down the entire game.
I'm the same.
I'll be walking
same.
around. I'll be jumping up and down. I'll be yelling. My neighbors will probably hear me all night. So yeah, I mean, I am animated when it comes to high-profile Yankee games.
How about after the game? Are you like able to go to sleep, or it takes you a while?
It depends. If it's a relatively stress-free win, okay, cool. I'll be able to go to bed happy. If my heart gets racing because even for a great ending in the Yankees' favor, that's just a lot of drama, like the Mets game, last night. If that type of thing happens to the Yankees, it's going to be hard for me to sleep in a good way. And the opposite is also going to be true. I will be devastated and stirring if shit doesn't go our way.
No, I know what you're saying. The only time I'm able to like go right to sleep right away is if the result was known for like the last half hour, 45 minutes or so.
Exactly. If you're not stressing it down to the top of the ninth inning, bottom of the ninth inning, then it's a lot easier.
I'm a big fan of after the game going on the porch, getting a little bowl or bong or joint going.
There you go.
And then there's like watching the post game stuff, which I'm not a fan of post game stuff in general. For playoff games, I like that like cool down experience. I don't watch it if they lose because then it's just annoying.
Well, yeah, you're just torturing yourself. It's just it's just that's just weird. But yeah, no, you kind of need, again, a lot of times you need a little bit of time to wind down before you're ready to actually go to bed. So I do get that.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the roster. So before we do anything, let's start with talking about the 26-man roster. Most of the spots are pretty obvious. So I think I want to talk about two things. We want to talk about what we think they should do, and then what they will actually do, and probably some sort of combination, like a realistic combination, which I think will probably be relative close to what they're actually going to do.
I mean, there's not a ton of variation that can come. Like you said, it's one or two spots that, you could argue over. And
the one thing that I think, before we get into the specific players, the one thing that I think is important to note, because of the wacky schedule where they play. So for those of you that don't know, game 1, Saturday night, day off. Game 2,
weird,
day
but
off.
I kind of love
game
it.
3, game 4, day off. Game 5, 5 games in 8 days. Very strange schedule. Because of that, you only need 3 starters, and your relievers have extra days to rest up, so you don't need as many pitchers.
Which this year is good for the Yankees, because every other year the bullpen has been one of their strengths going into the playoffs, and we can get into the usage of the bullpen and how the Yankees have done it, how
we will.
The league as a whole does it. But point being, for now, the Yankees are thin with relievers that I trust, that I'm sure you trust, that I'm sure Aaron Boone trusts at this point. So
they're very limited.
The fact that they only need a couple of people, because you're going to have days off even when you're not traveling, definitely benefits the Yankees in the
That's a really good point, Greg. I think I've been noticing people talking about how the extra rest benefits the Royals because they could start Reagans twice and Lugo twice, and I agree with you. There's not many. There's the arms that we trust are limited, so that's good. Like we can go Luke Weaver 2 innings in game 1, 2 innings in game 2.
The fact that Luke Weaver is the first person that comes to our mind that we trust out of the bullpen is a major issue. But we'll move on for now. It's
an issue, but it's also credit to him. Both. Right?
Fair.
Okay, so all right. So the roster, let's just start. So 26-man roster. Typically you would see 12 hitters, 14 pitchers, or 13 and 13, but because of the extra rest, I think we're going to see at most 12 pitchers, maybe even 11.
Yeah, I think you might see 11. I'd be surprised if it's 11, but I don't think there's any way that they do 13 with the schedule, like you were saying.
You can't. It wouldn't make any sense.
It would be a waste. It would be a waste.
All right, so you got the 2 catchers. You got Trevino and Wells. That's 2.
Yep.
For now, let's just say Rice and Oswaldo. We'll get into who's actually playing first.
Sure.
That's 4. You got Glaber 5, Volpe 6, Jazz 7.
Yep.
Soto's 8, Judge is 9, Verdugo 10, Dominguez 11, Stanton 12. All right. Do we want to go to pitchers and come back to hitters, or do you want to talk about like John Birdie's going to be on the roster, right?
Yes, and I think he has to be. I think there is value in having him on the roster over a bottom of the bullpen arm that if everything goes well, you're never going to use.
He could play second base, third base, apparently first base they're considering. We'll get into that. Obviously, he's a big-time base stealer. So that's another. Yeah. So, yeah, I agree. Okay, so that's 13 hitters. We're saying there's at least 14 position players. Are they going Duke Ellis, pinch runner, especially, or are they going Trent Grisham?
I think part of it depends on who is playing where and who you're expecting to start. Because this Yankees team is bad defensively, and there's no getting around that. No matter what little
one great defensive player, one. That's
it. Yes, people will say that.
All right, you don't agree. Okay. Okay.
I think he's very good. I don't think he's as elite as it seems like everyone else does, but we don't need to get into that. He's very good. So yes, there's one position that you feel good about. And the rest, not really. And
I think the reason to that, Greg, is, let's be honest, what they have here. Judge is in a secondary position. Yep. He's not a real center fielder.
Yep.
They have Jazz playing a new position himself.
Yep.
Glaber is not a real defensive player at all.
He's just awful.
Awful.
Defensively.
Yeah. And first baseman, with Rizzo out, they don't have a real first baseman. I mean, Ben Rice is a catcher turned to first base, and he's a minor leaguer. Let's be
exactly. And Soto is not a very good right fielder. Dominguez is not a very good left fielder. I think he'd be a better center fielder than he would a left fielder.
That may be the case. But and Verdugo, who's the better option in left field defensively, he's not even that good. He's like league average.
Yeah, exactly. So you have a bunch of below average defenders in a bunch of different positions. So the point of all of that is I think that last roster spot depends on who you're starting, because if you feel like you're going to need late game defensive replacements, then that they can have more of a role. Whereas
if you're thinking you would need more late game defensive replacements, you're going Grisham, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought. And because you have Bertie as your pinch runner, if you will, he can also be a defensive replacement for Glaber if it came down to it. So I think that there's more value in that if you're going, Dominguez in the outfield and whoever's playing first base, it's almost a wash at that point. So
the reason I would lean towards Duke Ellis is because, and this goes to your point about who's starting where, I think they're going to start Birdie at first base. so
this is insane.
God. They shouldn't. They should just start Rice or Oswaldo. One of the two.
See, I'm surprised you say that, obviously, as you can tell from my reaction. I don't think they're going to go in that direction. I think I have no reason to say one way or the other. I just think that is such a wild card for him to be your starting first baseman in a playoff series.
I think it would be game 2 against Reagans, which again, I don't know if that's going to happen. If they do it, that would be the game.
That makes sense because every other option is hitting, $160 against left-handed pitching.
But the funny thing about Reagans is because he's heavy changeup usage, he's actually like
reverse
better against righties.
Okay.
So they shouldn't. I don't know. But anyway, I think I think Birdie's role could be used in a lot of different ways, defensively, base pinch running, and maybe pinch hitting too in certain situations. So that's why I think I would go Duke Ellis over Grisham. But they could just do both, right, and go with 11 pitchers.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And like you said, I think that Bertie has value for sure a lot of value being on. He's the
on
bench,
the roster,
on the bench.
You just don't want him starting at first base or anywhere.
Exactly.
Really.
And I will, I know we'll probably get into this a little bit later, but I would argue the same thing about Oswaldo Cabrera. And one of the reasons why I think Ben Rice should be starting at first base is because I think Cabrera's greatest value to this team is his versatility off of the bench.
I agree. And did you see the Boone interview on Talking Yanks?
No.
They're big on Oswaldo at first base. Like they're like, he's been by far the best player out of these options. He deserves it, and they like his energy. They like his vibe. I don't know.
I can get on board with that.
And then Boone said he didn't. He was just saying, well, he wasn't saying that we're not doing that. You know how he is. It's in play. Boone talk.
Yeah, okay.
But
it's all in front of us. It's right in front of us.
It's all. It is in front of them now. I don't
Now
hear him
it's
saying
true.
that as much though. He was saying that. Boone speak. So he was saying that that's a consideration. It's in play, but I also like the idea of Oswaldo on the bench because he has all this versatility, like you just said.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, and I think it was Jake who on Talking Yanks, one of the
Mm-hmm.
co-hosts. He goes, but you still have the versatility. You put someone in and then just move Oswaldo to a different position. And then Boone said something that was really weird. He's like, yeah, but then you have to take someone out of the game. But you have to do that either way.
What is this? Jesus Christ! Oh God, this is our manager. This is our manager, people.
This is what happens when you do an interview with people that actually know what's going on and they give you real questions outside of other than like the traditional media questions.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the bigger thing is here is this is what happens when there's not really a great option.
Yeah, that's the truth. You're right. That's the real truth is that they don't have a real good option. And the idea, obviously, right before we started, news officially came out. Rizzo wasn't going to be on the roster. We didn't talk about it, but I'm sure you're on the same page. There was no chance.
No, I was fully under that impression already. The news
course.
that it was
you
official.
broke 2 fingers a week ago.
I was as soon as that happened, I was like, oh, it's tough.
That sucks, by the way.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It sucks for defense more than anything.
It sucks for defense. It sucks for just again, the vibe or whatever, but just his leadership, his experience in the playoffs, like that stuff is valuable, and it's a lot easier to be impactful in that role when you're playing rather than when you're injured off the bench.
I agree. And in a situation with guys on base, I would trust Rizzo more than Ben Rice or Oswaldo.
I mean, yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right. So the pitchers. So you got Cole, Rodon. Those are the game 1 and 2 starters.
Yep.
We're going to get into who's starting game 3, but let's just say for now, you got Heel and you got Schmidt. That's 4. Let's hold off on Stroman for now. We got 4. Okay. We got Luke Weaver 5.
Luke Weaver
Tommy
5.
Kahnle 6. Jake Cousins 7. And then Clay Holmes, 8. Tim Hill.
Ian Hamilton.
That's 10. Who are we forgetting here? There's at least one more. It's either Stroman or Mark Leiter.
Mark Leiter. Oh,
Clay Beater.
Clayton. I don't think there's any chance Clayton Beater's on the roster. I think Mark Leiter will be on the roster. I think Leiter's going to be on the roster.
You think so?
Yes.
What would you do?
Again, not a great option. I probably would put Leiter on the roster. I like the idea of, because you only need 3 starters, you have whoever doesn't start that game 3 as kind of your long man out of the bullpen. If you need to piggyback somebody, if you need to eat up innings, you have a starter who can give you length out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much value Marcus Stroman has. I like Stroman a lot, even though he hasn't been great. I feel like he wants the moment and can deliver in a big moment. So I would actually feel decent about him coming in. I don't want to say in mop-up duty, but like to stop the bleeding if that comes up for an extended period of time for 3-4 innings. But I don't know how much value that truly has when you would already have somebody theoretically like that, whoever doesn't start getting through.
I see your point. So what we've done, though, say it's Leiter. We've named 11 pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be Leiter and someone else. It could be Miza. It could be Efros. It could be Stroman. But the reason why I would go with Stroman is because I would go with 11 pitchers, and you have Stroman who could pitch more, give you more innings. He would make up for that one less pitcher, essentially.
Sure, that's fair.
We don't trust any of those pitchers at that point for that 12th spot anyway.
I think that's also a very fair point. Go ahead.
Yeah.
My bad.
I was going to say, I think the situation that could be in play for Stroman would be an extra inning game.
That's a good point.
Where you use, they're going to go to the reliever 6th inning, 7th inning, 8th inning, 9th inning. You're in the 10th inning. You're going to need someone to give you innings, and you're going to go to Miza. You're going to go to Mark Leiter. You're going to go to Stroman for 3 innings. If you need 3 innings,
That's a really good thought that I hadn't considered. As you bring somebody in you bring Stroman in on the 10th and just give him the ball for as long as you need, basically. The reason I feel like Leiter's going to be on the roster, and I hope
I know why. I know why you think that. I'm going to guess. Let me guess.
You're going to know. You're going to know
because
exactly
you think the Yankees front office, led by Cashman, and their whole group of people that make decisions feel like they have to support and defend the moves that they made, and they traded for him at the deadline, and it looks terrible if he's not on the playoff roster.
You could not have said that any better.
I don't think Cashman and the Yankees do that at all. But
I
I know that's
respect
a
your
perception
opinion.
that's out there. That's a perception that's out there, and I'm in the minority that doesn't believe it.
Yes, because I think that it happens, and
I don't think Cashman specifically cares about what other people think as that much, but I do think that they, as a group, once they make an analysis, it takes a long time for them to come off that analysis.
that's fair. I think that's well said. I would push back on your thought that Cashman. Not that I would push back on it that Cashman doesn't care what people think. I would say that the reason he probably doesn't is because he has a lifetime contract and he knows that no matter what he does, he's never getting fired. So they could flame out in the first round, get swept by the Royals, God forbid, and he'll probably get a raise and an extension. So when that happens, why do you care what anybody says, what Talking Yanks says, what any radio host says, what any fans say? Because you have nobody to answer to. Because there's no accountability.
Well, I mean, he has people to answer to. It's not the fans. It's ownership. It's I mean,
you're gonna say ownership. Hal. He has to answer to ownership.
He has to answer to Hal. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah.
You don't. Okay. All right.
I think by the letter of the law, by the organizational chart, he answers to Hal. In reality, I don't think he answers to anybody.
And to you.
No, not to me.
No, to you. What do you think? Okay, so we want to go two things now. Okay,
where do you land on Stroman? Where do you land on Stroman lighter? You think Stroman's going to get it, and you would take Stroman as that last pitcher?
I would do Stroman, and I would go 11 pitchers. I have no idea what they're going to do. I really don't. I don't know.
And again, if it's coming down,
I could see Miza. I could see it being Miza. I could see it being.
If your 11th pitcher is what's making or breaking the series, something has gone horribly wrong.
Agreed.
So, yeah.
If your 11th or 12th pitcher is really is really an issue, I agree.
A vital part of this 5-game series against the Royals.
So we're going to talk about what the Yankees need to do to win the series, what needs to happen. Two positions that we need to talk about. And this is really, we're just guessing what they're going to do, but we can give our opinion what they should do.
Mm-hmm.
Left field. Dominguez or Verdugo starting. What do you want them to do, and what do you think they're going to do?
I honestly have no idea to either one of those questions, and that's probably surprising to you because you probably think I'm like full-blown Dominguez. It's not even debatable.
I did think you were a full-blown Dominguez.
And I definitely am. I'm like
in general
80-20 Dominguez in this play. So it's not, full-blown. It's not like 100%, but I'm heavily leaning in that direction. The reason that
Is it because his defense scares you? You've seen him. You've seen his defense. It scares you.
It's twofold. Right? Yeah. His defense scares me. And to give Verdugo the benefit of the doubt, I love that move when they got him. I thought that was going to be a great move. And obviously it hasn't panned out as such. I will say Verdugo, in his limited playoff experience, was very good in 21, I guess. Yeah, not 2020 because that was COVID. So yeah, I think 21 with the Red Sox, he was in the playoffs. And he was very good in the playoffs that year. Now, he also had probably his second best season of his career. So was that just kind of like, hey, he kept going what he was doing in the regular season? Maybe. But probably. That is my one kind of hesitation with like full-blown Dominguez, or I should say two. The defense is obvious. Everybody's going to, make that argument. But also I've seen Verdugo in the playoffs play well. And how much of an impact does that have? I'd probably, like I said, still go Dominguez because I just think the ceiling is obviously much higher. The more reps he gets in left field, theoretically, the more comfortable he's going to get out there. You have the added benefit of stealing a base and potentially manufacturing a run in the playoffs where the runs are at a premium. So I think he offers more overall, and then you can have a late-game defensive replacement as a league average left fielder in Verdugo. But the one kind of hesitancy to be full-blown Dominguez outside of the defense, because that's a given, is just Verdugo's playoff experience and experience performing well in the playoffs with the time he had.
Okay, I see. I think you know this. I don't really look at past postseason performance as a predictive measure of future postseason performance,
which I think is so crazy. But yeah, I know that.
I don't want to get too off schedule or too
we don't need to go down that rabbit hole.
But anyway, I think what they're going to do, and I don't know what they'll do in game 1, but I think we're going to see, I think they're going to be open to mixing it up. What I would do is I'd go Dominguez game 1 against Waka. Verdugo, if they have a lead later in the game, defensive replacement. And then game 2 with Reagans, the lefty, both of them are bad against lefties.
Yeah.
So you might as well just go with the better defensive option. Verdugo in game 2. And then game 3 against Seth Lugo, based on how they both looked in the first 2 games. Now, I don't know if the Yankees are going to do that. They might already have, the Yankees probably already have it mapped out what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And they're not going to go off
Boone
script.
said that he already knows what he's doing. He hasn't told the players. Like, what do you mean?
He said he hasn't told the players, or did he say he hasn't?
That was earlier today. Brian Hoke reported it that Boone's quote was that he knows what he's doing, but he hasn't talked to the players about it yet.
Did he say it like that, or did he say I have an idea of where I'm leaning?
I did not
Because
watch
Boone's speak is typically, I have an idea where I'm leaning. I haven't told anyone yet.
Fair.
That's how he talks.
You're right. Back to
so that's a little bit different. You know, he doesn't. But
he does exactly what they want him to do. He is good. You know, he can say a lot without saying anything.
Yeah, and when he's saying I'm leaning, it's really the collective group is leaning.
Okay. Yeah, no one buys
that.
No,
no, you do believe he has a say in this, right?
A say, sure.
It shouldn't. Do you want it to just be his decision? Do you trust him to make these decisions by himself?
No.
All right, so you're good with the collective group deciding.
I'm good with, to a certain extent, a collective group.
Who should be deciding? But they should just let a fan poll?
My issue comes down to the pre-scripting. That's the data.
I get, no, well, yeah,
and I feel like they kind of go hand in hand. That the collective maps out, hey, here's what's going to happen no matter what, and then how much are you allowed to deviate from the script? And that's something I vehemently disagree.
I think the deviation is a Boone thing. That's up to him to decide.
See, but I don't think he has the. I don't think he has the balls
conviction?
To do it.
Okay.
Because you can't defend it. You can't go to your superiors and say, "Oh, I just had a feeling because I've been in baseball my entire life because my family's played baseball." No, you're right.
You can't go to Cashman. You can't go to if Cashman says, "What were you thinking?" I had a gut feeling. He'd be like, "No,
that's unacceptable." That's
and
it
you
should
don't like
be
that. I do like that though.
No,
I do like that. I don't want Boone making going a gut feeling. Why would his gut feeling be better than data? Why would I trust his gut?
Because you can make data do anything that you want, and we're not playing a simulation. Well, different story. We're not playing with robots who there aren't unmeasurable factors.
Are you about to say that you believe in that we're all living in a simulation? Are you?
I mean, that's just a statistical fact at this point. But
that's a completely different podcast.
Yeah, that's a different podcast. But
yeah, you're gonna. I'm gonna send your referral to Joe Rogan.
There we go.
Have
Perfect.
You on.
Yeah. Call me up. But to be serious about it, there are things that you can't measure with data when it comes to human beings and when it comes to sporting events.
Agreed.
So the fact that there's no room to use gut feeling when feelings are involved, there's a disconnect there because it's not just numbers.
I agree, but I think so. I don't. So when you say gut feeling, you're okay. Let's say this. Let's just give an actual. They start Dominguez game 1. Let's just say he goes 2 for 4, but like 2 bloop singles, right?
Sure.
Lucky singles, whatever. Strikes out his other 2 bats, chasing pitches, doesn't get to a ball he should get to in left field. Then Verdugo goes 0 for 4, but has the exit velocity, the contact rate. The chase rate's really good. Makes a couple nice plays in left field. Game 3, Boone's like, well, we were talking, we had it mapped out for Dominguez, but I really like the way Verdugo's looked. Even though Dominguez is 2 for 4, Verdugo 0 for 4, I'm going Verdugo. Is that the kind of gut feeling? Because that's not really a gut feeling.
I almost look at it more during the course of a game. is that I'm
Okay.
talking about, rather than a pregame. Because you can script before a game of, hey, here's how we want everything to go. In a perfect world, here's how it goes.
I see what you're saying.
But during the game, things change, and the numbers that you were looking at before the game of, hey, in the 7th inning in this situation, here's the statistics, whatever
You're
you
talking
want to look
about
at.
in general for Boone's decisions throughout these playoffs. You're not
Yes.
talking about specifically the left field situation right
I'm
now,
not.
right?
Yeah, no, this is not specific to
All
left
right.
field. This is not specific
I
to
understand what you're
lineups
saying.
ahead of the game. This is more.
I agree with you to an
intra-game
extent.
decision.
I do agree with you to an extent. If the numbers are overwhelmingly suggest you should do this, like if it's a big percentage difference, then I think you should go with the numbers. But if it's because we're talking for most of these decisions are like the difference in
They're
like
in the margins.
yeah.
It's very rare
Yeah,
that you have those overwhelming. Because then I agree with you. It's obvious. It's like, okay, if 90% of the time X happens and you lose because the 10% that happened, then okay, it is what it is. But when you're talking in the margins, I think the reason you have a manager who played the game, whose dad played the game, whose uncle played the game, whose brother, like, you need to rely on baseball experience. Say, okay, I've been in a bunch of these games. There's a feeling involved because we're dealing with human beings. And when we're in the margins, hey, I think that 40% is actually closer to 50 or whatever. We're making shit up at this point, but you get my point.
I get your point. Okay, so let's move on to first base. I got
Who would
the
you
sense
go with in
early
left field? Who would you wrap that up?
Oh,
Who
I would do Dominguez game 1, Verdugo game 2, and then I would go with whoever whoever looked better through the first 2 games of game 3. And then going forward, again, if it's against Reagan's, I'm going Verdugo because I'd rather value the defense. I don't expect anything offensively from either. Against a righty, I'd lean Dominguez unless Verdugo looks really good in the series. And then
I'd hand Dominguez the job and use Verdugo as a late game replacement. Personally, I'd say, hey, this is your series, kid. Go take it.
But you would bring Verdugo in as a defensive replacement?
Potentially.
In what situation?
If the situation needed it.
1-run game in the 6th inning? Like, you know, it's tough because this, like, you know, the at bat could be that next time up could be important. So you want but then you also know that one non-play or one bad play in the outfield could cost you the game.
Yeah, no, that's the playoffs, right? It's the little details that end up making the difference. I just, like I said, at the beginning of this, I think the ceiling of Dominguez is a lot higher.
So much higher. It's not even close. It's not even close.
Yeah. I think you just have to roll the dice.
He wasn't even that good offensively this year, and he still had a 107 WRC plus against righties when Verdugo was at like 80.
It's just, it's not comparable. So I think, this has been your untouchable gem of your farm system. Hand him the keys and just say, hey, this is your time, kid. Go for it.
All right. Okay. First base. I think you're going to go. I think you want to go Rice based on what we were talking about earlier.
I think it has to be. And again, there's, like I said earlier, there's no great option. So this is one I don't feel all that strongly about. I think you start.
I think they're going to go Rice because I think that they trust his defensive first base more than Oswaldo.
That's kind of the tiebreaker for me in this regard because I don't think the ceiling. There's much of a difference in ceiling between, like it's different than the Dominguez Verdugo. So I tend to lean on the first base.
And while, I think the ceiling is close. I think while Oswaldo's floor offensively might be higher, it is higher, but it's not worth the bad defense.
No. And you get the power advantage with Rice theoretically. So like, when you out homer somebody in the playoffs, you win whatever, like 85% of the time or whatever it is. So like that is an aspect of it. So yeah, I think it's tough to put somebody who's played like 5 games, something like that at first base.
It's risky for sure
in the playoffs. Like I think that's asking a lot. So not that Ben Rice has a ton of experience, but it's more than Oswaldo. I tend to just.
But you wouldn't be upset if they went Oswaldo. You wouldn't be like, oh,
no, because I like Oswaldo.
Don't you feel like that'd be? I feel like you would appreciate that it's un-Yankee like to go Oswaldo.
Is it? What about that is un-Yankee like?
To let Oswaldo Cabrera start at first. It's un-Yankee like. They're gonna go the lefty first baseman at first base as opposed to, and Oswaldo's like their utility off the bench guy, and let's
But you do have that with
we have it
Berkey,
mapped
so
out.
it's-
He's going to
it's-
come in the sixth inning against this reliever,
Yeah.
and then we're going to put him at this position and move this guy to this position and that position, and that's
Well,
the whole
apparently
map.
not, because you can't take somebody off the bench because then you got to pull somebody out and you'll hurt their feelings. So I don't know, but
You'll hurt their feelings. Oh my god!
No, so I don't know how un-Yankee like it would be if he were to start, but I would be fine with him starting. I think there's value in, like you said, his energy, his athleticism. I think there's then value in Ben Rice's power, his theoretically slightly better defense, and
it's un-Yankee like because they have, at least to me, clearly determined a while back, which I actually agree with this determination, that Oswaldo Cabrera is not a starting quality major league player, which I agree with.
I agree with that. Yeah, 100%. Not on a real team. I mean, the A's need bodies, so it's like if he was over there, he might be their best player. But
His offense wasn't that bad this year.
On an actual team,
let's not talk about the A's.
I should say the White Sox. It used to be the A's. I guess it's the White Sox.
There you go.
Now, yeah,
talk about
on an actual team. No, he's not an everyday starter.
Yeah. So anyway, but like once they get that, they determine that, they usually won't do it even when the situation calls for it.
So now what we were talking about earlier, do you think that's stubbornness? Or I should say, you don't think that's stubbornness? That hey, we made this determination and we're dead set and this is the answer. There's no room for it not to be the answer.
It is stubbornness, but it's not trying to show that you were right. It's not doing it because you're just trying to show people you were right. No, it's not the same. Intention is really important. The intention is they're trying to do the best thing for the team. If they're just trying to prove themselves right, they're not trying to do the best thing for the team. They're trying to do the best thing for themselves. That's bad.
I see your point. I see the distinction. I think that's fair.
All right, starting pitching matchups. Game 1, Michael Wacha versus Garrett Cole. You have to win game 1.
I mean, dude.
How nervous are you going to be if they lose game 1?
I'll be shitting myself. And I'm going to game 2. So
oh, nice.
I will be in shambles at the start of that game. If you don't win the first game, you can just fire Boone before game 2.
There's so much pressure on game 1 because you got the Royals ace in game 2.
Yep.
And you got your ace in game 1.
Yeah.
So much pressure. And you can't fall down 2-0 in a best of 5.
No, and this is, I know we're going to talk about bullpen, but I just want to ride Garrett Cole in this game.
I think they need him. I think they need him to go, at least 6, but I wouldn't, 7.
6, that's not the metric for somebody who is your horse and your, Cy Young winning ace. And
so what do you want? You want 7 from Cole? Okay. The money is not he got the contract he got because that's what the market determined his value was. It's not like,
and the Yankees thought he was worth that, or they wouldn't have given. And I think he was worth that too. But my point is, I'd much rather him in the 3rd time through the order in the 7th or the 8th inning than a lot of the relievers.
I understand what you're saying, but you just lost me on the contract thing. So if he was making $25 million, then he can go 6 innings.
But my point is, you obviously saw the value in him, and I would much rather go down with that type of player than
I got you,
Luke Weaver. Who,
but again, it depends.
You're
mapping this out.
Ride my horse in the
biggest. You're mapping this out right now. Why are you mapping it out? You got to be willing to adjust, right?
Okay. See, that's not applicable. You are just apples to oranges right now.
But seriously, you might go into it wanting Cole to give you 7. If he's at 115 pitches at 6, you're not going to go out.
Yeah, sure. Then I mean, obviously within reason, but again, I'll save this for the.
Oh wait, I got you. Let me say. I think I can phrase this. I think I know what you're saying. You're saying that Cole, it shouldn't be. Oh, it gets to the 7th inning, he's out. We have this mapped out. We have this mapped out. Canely has this lane against the lefties. Weaver, it's 2 innings.
That's exactly.
It should be see what Cole's doing. If he's at a good pitch count, if he's dominating like we expect him to, keep pitching him. Don't take him out in the 7th. Don't take him out in the 8th.
Don't be in a rush. Don't be in a rush to get to your bullpen. A predetermined rush to get to your bullpen,
especially when the bullpen sucks.
With Cole. Especially with Cole, and especially with the state of the bullpen.
Yeah,
that's my biggest thing.
I'm with you on that. I agree, and I do think that's.
It's on Cole to go out there and make the decision for him. Go dominate. Go be the ace that you're supposed to be.
Maybe the offense just makes the decision easy for everyone, and we can
Even
just
better.
relax.
Even better.
I do agree with you. I do think there's a really good chance that Cole goes 7 and then Weaver goes 8-9.
Yeah, I can see that. I'd be fine. You know, I'd like a few run cushion there. I wouldn't prefer not a 1-run game when that happens, but I'd be fine with that path.
Game 2, we got Reagans for the Royals.
Yep.
And Carlos Rodon, who knowing you do not trust him at all, right?
How could anybody trust him?
I trust him.
What has he done as a Yankee to make you trust him in this game? Now, does that mean that I think he can't, I don't think he can go out there and give you a really good performance? No, those are two separate things. But if I said I trusted him going into that game, I don't know how anybody
trust is relative. Trust is relative. I don't really trust any of the starters. I don't really trust any of the starters after Cole. So
sure,
yeah, I trust him more than every other starter.
Okay, so your scale of trust is you trust him the second most behind, after Cole, the most after Cole, I should say.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean,
I don't know if I would agree with that either, but I can see that argument. But to just put a blanket statement, I guess when you say I trust him, my thought is I trust him to have a good performance. I don't trust him to have a good performance. I think he definitely could, but I think he could also give up 4 runs in the first inning and be yanked.
Okay, let's talk about that actually. What kind of after Cole? I don't think any of these stars are going to have a big a long leash on this. I mean, I think they're going to, if there's trouble in the first or second inning with these starters, they're going to get guys up. I mean, they have Clark Schmidt ready to piggyback any of the starters.
Assuming we'll get to person that. I would be okay with.
We're going to get to Schmidt. Wait, what was
not
that?
One person. Whoever doesn't start game 3 is really the one person that I would potentially feel good about, a super early piggyback. But again, a lot of these other people, I would rather the starter. I have more faith in the starter than the underbelly of the bullpen.
Yeah. So Rodon had that really bad stretch.
Yeah.
Right. That made his numbers look bad, and that's part of who he is. That bad stretch, he does have bad stretches, but when he's on one of his good stretches, he's really good.
I agree.
And
I think he's got something, an attitude, a mindset, whatever it is.
He has that kind of energy.
He's got the fuck you that they were trying to get with Donaldson.
Though, right? Exactly. It can go either way. Yeah,
he got into it with the fans. He can spiral out of control and get bombed in the first inning and not make it out. So, yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, he can get a big out and just start, cursing at the hitter.
Exactly. Yeah, he's a little bit. But so I think that, if that is honed in the right direction, I think it can be super beneficial in a big moment, in a big game with, the electricity of the Yankee Stadium crowd. So if he can get out and have a good first inning, I think that actually that's really good. If he struggles, it's going to be rough in that stadium. Early. If he struggles early specifically.
I agree. I think you need to be prepared to bring in someone else. Whoever's not starting that game 3, which I want to get to now. So the Royals go with Seth Lugo in game 3. They haven't announced that, but they must be going with Seth Lugo.
Dude, he went 7 innings and 3 hits in September.
He's going to finish top 5 in the Cy Young voting.
He strike out 11 people, 10 people that game, whatever, in early September? He's pitching game 3. I don't know who. There's not even another option.
I agree completely. So, and then you expect the Yankees to go Luis Gil, right?
Yes, I do.
And that's what you would do.
Yes.
I'm with you on 100%. I don't think it's a question because one, I think Gil has the elite stuff where he has the potential to do what you want Cole to do, 7, 8 innings.
Yeah.
And also, how can anyone trust Luis Gil with his control out of the bullpen?
Exactly. And again, I think that Clark Schmidt, you would feel good about bringing him in if necessary out of the bullpen.
Now, I agree with that completely, and I do think that might be part of their mapped out plan for game 3. Schmidt, first time around, maybe first 2 times around, maybe he goes 4 or 5 innings, and then Gil comes in.
Oh,
the other way. Gil goes the first 4 or 5, and then Schmidt comes in for 3 or so.
Which again, I'm fine with you having that plan going into the game. If all of a sudden Luis
Gil's dominating, then you don't take him out. No, you don't take him out.
That's my biggest thing. You have to go into the game having a plan. Don't get me wrong. but like you need to be able to deviate from that plan based on what's unfolding in front of your eyes.
I think there's the gray area. Like, we can clearly say if he's 5 innings, no runs, 1 hit, 1 walk, 6 Ks, okay, he's staying in. But what if it's through 5, 3 walks, 7 Ks, 2 hits, 1 run? Like, there's a lot of the gray area.
Yeah, but like you can't just give me a stat line, like, and say one way or the other. Like, you can see how a pitcher is pitching when you're watching every pitch.
No, I know, I agree,
So
but
like,
I'm
if he's
giving you that stat
battling-
line. That stat line would demonstrate that his control's off.
Sure.
Guys are on base.
Okay, that's
which
fair.
means he's kind of struggling. We know what he looks like when he's walking guys, and
if he's erratic, specifically if he's erratic in the strike zone, that's the bigger thing with him. Is like, yeah, he walks a bunch of people, so he gets a lot of, but like he gets very wild in the strike zone, which is even worse. So, so like,
yeah.
I mean, again, this is where I would like to say I have faith in my manager who spent his entire life in and around baseball, that he can see what's going on with his pitcher and say, okay, he's battling, he's given us everything that he's got. We're, great that he was able to get through 4 or 5, whatever it is, and then get him out versus the opposite.
And I think, to your point, maybe even that in the first inning, like you see, oh, he's nervous, he's amped up, he's throwing 102, but he's nowhere near the strike zone. We're not going to lose this game in the first inning.
It can go both ways. It can definitely go both ways.
Yeah.
So on that note, I want to ask your opinion on something. So
yeah,
how closely were you watching Mets Brewers these last few days?
Very closely.
Okay, so Game 1. This is something. Game 1 and then Game 3. That just, if this was my team, I would lose my freaking mind, and it might be. So I should watch what I say. The Brewers have their ace Freddie Peralta on the mound in Game 1. Okay. He had retired 8 straight, 9 straight, whatever it was, had 60 pitches, and they are in such a rush to get to their bullpen, and they yank him after the 4th inning. Right?
Yeah.
Now, he wasn't pitching great, don't get me wrong. His stat line at the end wasn't great. But again, he had retired, I think it was 9 straight at that point. And they yank him out of the game. Okay, whatever. You could make an argument for it. It would piss me off, but it is what it is. But then to see last night in the 8th inning, them bring Freddie Peralta into the game out of the bullpen, something he doesn't normally do, which shows that you trust him more than a bunch of these relievers. It just emphasizes, why are you yanking out of him your ace out of the game at that stage in Game 1? It just doesn't make any sense.
Wait, you really want my opinion on this?
Yes.
I think it's obvious. They had the plan that they wanted to be able to go to him in Game 3, so save the bullets.
Oh, I think that's ridiculous. Go win Game 1.
It worked. It worked, didn't it?
But no, because they lost the series.
They didn't lose it because Freddie Peralta pitched. They lost it because their amazing top-end closer gave up a 3-run home run to Pete Alonso.
But in Game 3, but they didn't win Game 1. Because they had 5 pitchers coming in. And here's I want your opinion on this as well. When it comes to, now we're just kind of getting into bullpen usage, and we can kind of transition this back.
And we don't want to focus on the Mets, but okay, yeah. Go,
I know.
One more question.
This is more conceptual. It's not even about the Mets or that series at all. Do you think that there is any validity to the fact that if you are continuously bringing pitchers into a game, there's a higher likelihood that one of them isn't going to be good?
Of course.
So in a vacuum, the matchup is great, but if you're trying to string 5 of them together, it's just like when you're making a money line parlay on the NFL, like there's a reason the odds are higher, because there's a chance that not all 5 of these things are going to hit. So again, it goes back to like this rush to get to the bullpen. I vehemently against.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Okay.
If you
you're
right.
It doesn't seem like that's taken into account, in my opinion. It doesn't seem like that's part of the equation, I would argue.
Well, let me ask you this. I think I completely agree with you, but I also think, all right, look at it like this. What are the odds of four reliable relievers that have, I don't know, whatever, that one of them is off in that game and gets knocked around, compared to what are the odds of this pitcher faces the lineup fourth time through of him getting knocked around. Still, like, pretty good chance for most starting pitchers, fourth time through.
For most
So
starting pitchers.
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm just saying that you're only, if you're going to look at it that way, look at it both options. It's not just that one option.
I 100% agree. And for most starting pitchers, again, I would agree. I think that when you have an ace of your staff who I think you should put your trust in him more so than a lot of the other things.
Okay. So let's move on to relief pitcher usage. Kind of good segue here.
Right into it.
How do the Yankees deploy this relief? So first off, let's talk about this. They have one lefty, assuming that it's only Hill, maybe Mize, but if it's Mize, we don't trust him anyway. So one trustworthy-ish lefty.
Yeah, but they have Canely, who
yes.
Canely's kind of their guy to get lefties out. So
I was going to mention that. Yes, Canely's because of the changeup.
Exactly,
is their guy against lefties.
Yeah,
and Hill, but Hill's probably the first guy against lefties. One. So in this series specifically, we're talking about Vinny P.
He doesn't scare me. I think
the Royals don't have a good lineup.
Exactly.
Dude.
So he's such a middling, average, slightly above average major league player.
Average.
Okay, slightly. I don't know what's his weighted runs created. That'll be a good metric of where he is.
I'm gonna.
So,
I'm pulling it up right now.
So I don't think we need to go out of our way to have a
125 this year, by the way. So 25% above league average as a hitter.
Right. Yeah, better. Didn't he have a 760 OPS or something? I didn't think he had a great. I don't know how much.
Wait a second. I was looking at the wrong thing. My bad. I was looking at his postseason.
There we go.
108. 108 WRC plus. So yeah,
slightly above average. So
all right. Okay.
I don't know how much of a dedicated plan we need to have for Vinny P. We need to have a dedicated plan for Bobby Witt.
Yeah, no. But you have a lefty that's specifically on the roster in the bullpen to get at lefties. You're going to go after you're going to use them for their best lefty.
Sure.
Vinny P is their best left-handed hitter.
I agree with that. There's no argument against that.
Okay, so that was the point. That was it.
No, I mean
that's Hill's. Obviously, you can't have these three hitters unless it's the end of an inning. But that's kind of his lane, the Vinny P. That's who he has to be prepared to face more than anyone else.
See, I would much rather Canely in that type of spot because then you have Salvador Perez behind him.
Oh no, for sure. But I'm just saying if it's the fifth inning, the sixth inning, fourth inning, or maybe after Canely already pitched, and that's when the situation would be for Hill.
I would say it has to be after Canely already pitched. I don't care what inning it is. If that's a
big situation, fifth inning. Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Actually,
you have to go Canely.
I'm with you. I don't care what inning it is either. I go Canely.
You have to. If that's the most important part of that game at that time, you have to go to Canely first.
I'm with you.
And it's sad that we're adamantly begging for Tommy Canely to be the first.
They should go to Clay Holmes.
Oh yeah, I don't want him anywhere.
We're gonna get to that. So okay, but are you locked in on Luke Weaver as the closer, or you want him? Okay.
Well, yes, but I do think I'm locked in as Luke Weaver is
their
best reliever that I trust the most.
Yes.
So
I don't see how it's even close.
I don't know if there's an argument. So if that means that the ninth inning is his, I'm okay with that. But what I was saying before, if there is in the seventh inning, this is the game right here. You got to bring him in and you 100%. Figure it out after that.
I agree with that completely. And I've been a proponent of that strategy for 10 years now.
Because it just makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
It makes sense if the guy's expecting it and has done it. There is something to be said for a closer who's only ever closed. He's not
comfortable with doing it, or he had no idea it was in play, and all of a sudden,
the phone rings.
Did you see my
Yes,
did you see the clip
so
of
true.
me? Yeah.
It's
the dugout phone.
It is incredible.
The bullpen phone. You can't just touch a button or something.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
So, all right. So we're in agreement on that, and I think the Yankees are in agreement with that also.
Yeah,
Basically, what
see,
they've shown
that's
the last
kinda
couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how they've been doing it recently because they don't they don't have a true like exclusive closer at this point.
So Weaver's their number one high leverage guy. Canley's their number two, especially like against a lane like where that has some lefties in it.
Sure.
And then for a lane that's strictly righties, Bobby Witt, things like that. Like we're talking Jake Cousins. If not, of course not Weaver. And
I'd probably say Ian Hamilton is my third. He's
Really?
pitched very well since he came back. Cousins is just coming back or trying to come back. Like,
yeah.
I'd probably go Ian Hamilton as the third guy at this point.
Yeah, this is assuming Cousins didn't have a setback and he's going to be on the roster.
Yeah. But let's say Cousins, everything's good. They say, hey, he's good to go. He's on the roster. He's ready to go on the roster. I think at least to start, I'd say Ian Hamilton. If all of a sudden Jay Cousins comes in, and now we're talking about the ALCS, and he had 3 great outings in the DS, like, okay, it's different. But the fact that he's just coming back, if he does come back, I would favor Ian Hamilton as the guy I trust.
So the Royals have a lot of guys who hit fastballs really well and struggle against sliders. So that's part of the reason why I'd go Cousins, because he has a slider.
That's fair. There's definitely something to be said for that. But again, neither phenomenal options that I feel great about. That's a general theme here.
And then we already talked about Clark
for the highest payroll in baseball. That's a general theme.
I know. We talked about Clark Schmidt out of the bullpen, more of a piggyback role, but maybe they use him in like the 7th inning or 8th inning. I think that's on the table.
I would be fine with that. Like if all of a sudden you are getting good starting pitching and you don't need that long guy out of the bullpen, he would probably be my third guy that I trust the most to go out and pitch an inning or two.
Against righties, though, not against lefties. Well, maybe against lefties, because that cutter's really made a weapon against lefties.
I don't know enough of his splits against righties versus lefties.
So he was for the first couple of years of his career, he was horrible against lefties.
Yeah.
They've been working on this cutter with him, and last year, like he would try to throw it against lefties, it was getting destroyed. But this year, he's actually been really good against lefties. The cutter has come a long way. It's been a weapon against lefties. So to the point where I think that they would prefer him against lefties over Luis Gil.
I mean, he's slightly better against righties, but it's not massive.
Yeah, but look at his previous seasons. Just do it for fun.
I'm just looking at how he was this year.
So yeah, he's. I think they view him as one of their best options against lefties, especially better than Gil.
Yeah. I would not mind at all if he was somebody they were going to out of the bullpen in high leverage spots.
I'm with you. All right, so let's switch over. Oh, no, not switch over yet. We have one more reliever to really talk about. This is more your fear of what the Yankees do and what the Yankees have done. They have tried so hard down the stretch of the season to get Clay Holmes going, putting him in high leverage situations, medium leverage situations. What level of concern do you have that they're going to put Clay Holmes in a specific scenario, high leverage against 3 righties coming up?
I would say low for now. I don't think they're going to do that right away. This might be me being hopelessly optimistic at this point with this organization, but I don't think they're going to throw him into the deep end right away. Again, kind of what I was saying with like Ian Hamilton, Jay Cousins specifically. If he has a couple outings kind of in middle relief, not super high leverage, clean innings, whatever it is, early in the playoffs, and he performs well, looks good, his stuff is good, I could see them upping the leverage situations, if you will, as things go on. So I don't think it'll be right away, and I hope it's not right away because I have less than zero faith in it. Even though, to his credit, I will say he has been, after that ridiculous stretch where he got demoted and whatever, like he has been significantly better recently, but I have very little faith in him.
You're not gonna like my answer. You ready?
I know your answer, and it's disgusting.
No. My answer isn't that they should pitch Clay Holmes in a big situation, high levels. I don't care what he's been doing recently.
You think they're gonna,
but the Yankees are going to,
and it's
they're
disgusting.
going to.
It's disgusting.
And here's why. I think they're
indefensible.
If it works, it'll be defended.
No, see, you're right. They will be, but that doesn't make it. That doesn't.
I agree with you.
Excuse the behavior.
You're
the
talking
result
like me,
the
though.
outcome.
You're talking like me now. You're talking the results. I'm all about the process, and I don't get too fixated on results because they're fluky. But in the playoffs, the results are what we care about anyway. But anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's what I think is happening. And this is a little bit of a Yankee fear of mine. This isn't like just some like rational thought. So in this week of simulated games that they're doing to stay ready, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course we don't get into the ridiculousness of it, the reports of. But
Ben Rice hit a home run against Garrett Cole. I didn't see that. He's got the starting job.
Oh my God, it's so bad. But I think that if they, in the simulated games and when him doing all this work on the side, they see the spin rate on the slider and the sinker being back, specifically the sinker being back to its peak, they're gonna be like, "Oh, he's back. His stuff is back. Let's go to him." And the reason why I think this is because when Clay's on, when his sinker has that elite movement, he is one of the best pitchers in baseball. The problem is that how could we have faith in it just because he's been doing it in simulated games or whatever bullpen or on the side?
No, I 100% agree, and again, it's kind of like a theme of this entire conversation in this roster. It's like you're only as good as your options. So it's not like there's just a laundry list of people in the bullpen that you have all this faith in, and they're just trying to force a way to have Clay Holmes. At least with Clay Holmes, you've seen it. At least he has been dominant. So,
I agree. This is really strange for us as Yankee fans. They've had a great bullpen for a long time.
For all the shit I give Cashman, because I think he is the most overrated executive in the history of American sports, he has done a very good job of developing a bullpen out of nothing. And now
finding guys.
Now, I think that Matt Blake is a genius. I think that he's phenomenal. Like the organizationally,
Cashman decided to hire him though.
Sure.
Right?
Okay. Great. I think organizationally they do an incredible job with relievers, honing them in on the pitches that work, developing.
I agree completely. They've done it again. They've done it again,
if you will.
Luke Weaver,
all
Jake Cousins. They did it with Clay Holmes. Yeah.
So again, I will give Brian Cashman credit for that. There's a lot of things I do not give him credit for. And one of them is that we're sitting here talking about Luke Weaver as our most trusted reliever.
Yeah, I know.
With the highest payroll in baseball. We don't have a first baseman. We don't have a third baseman. We don't have a left fielder. We don't have a reliever. We don't have two relievers that we really trust. And this is the highest payroll in baseball. But that's another episode. We can dive deeper into that, maybe as a season wrap up, if you will.
Yeah, we'll have you back on for a season wrap up. We'll have Sisted on that, so you guys can go back and forth.
Oh, love it.
Yeah,
because the Philly fans are just the most rational fan base in the world. So
they don't get upset with their teams.
It's just us New York fans who are crazy and want our teams to do well.
I know, it's so funny. All right, so let's talk about expectations for the series. Who do you expect to have a good series? Who do we think is gonna have a big series?
I think Soto. Phenomenal series, phenomenal postseason, everything.
Soto.
I mean, he's proven it. He's done it. He's been great all year. He had a little stretch there in August where he wasn't great, but generally speaking, he's been great all year. He's made for this. It's Soto.
Yeah, I think it's clear that the Yankees need Soto and Judge to perform.
And I wish that my answer there could be Judge without any hesitation. Unfortunately, for how dominant he's been in the regular season, clearly the best player in the American League, he hasn't been good historically in the playoffs. And you can right or wrong put up or shut up kind of deal. Like, I get it. You're dominant in the regular season. That's why we're in the position, number 1 seed, have home field throughout. Like, that's why the Yankees are even there. He's carried them over the past few years.
I have something that might make you feel better about this.
What is it?
Because I know that rhetoric's out there, and I think we've probably disagreed on it before. In 2022 postseason, he was miserable, awful. I'm in agreement with you on that. Now, I'm going to defend that by saying he didn't have a slump all year that season, so he just happened to have a slump at the wrong time. That's
Fair.
how I view it.
I think there's something to be said for that. I do think there's more weight on the mental side of it, especially in the playoffs.
Before 2022 postseason, in 160 postseason plate appearances going into 22, guess what his weighted runs created plus was?
118.
Roughly. All right, that's pretty close. 126.
Okay.
So he was good. He had one bad postseason.
See, I disagree with that because I get if you're 18%, what'd you say, 126?
126.
Okay. If you're 26% better than average in the postseason, for a normal player, that's phenomenal. When you're 100% better than a regular player in the regular season, you can't have that big of a drop off. You just can't. Like, you have to play.
But before 2022, he wasn't
in the regular season.
But, well, I mean,
we're close. Again, he's been otherworldly, so to expect him to but you can't have a precipitous drop off from your regular season numbers to your postseason numbers.
But up until 2022, his regular season WRC plus was like 150. It wasn't like it was 210. You know what I mean? So he went from 150 to 126. That's not that huge of a drop off. He didn't become this otherworldly player until 22.
Fair. That's fair.
He was an elite top 10 player, but he wasn't like this.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
And I have confidence in Judge. I do think that they're not going to pitch to him.
But see, I'm looking at his postseason stats right now. I don't know how you can say that he had good playoffs before 22, and that's like bringing everything down.
What were his numbers in 19?
265, 390. He had a 743 OPS. Like, you can't have Aaron, and then in 2020 he had a 662 OPS.
Well, he had a 390 OBP in 2019 playoffs, a 390 OBP. They weren't pitching to him, so he had a 390 OBP. I mean, what do you expect him to do?
Okay, fair.
But anyway, the point is, you look at OPS at 740 OPS or something in the playoffs. That's players.
That's not good enough. That's not good enough.
But offense, the WRC plus equates it to league average. The point is, in the playoffs, offense is down.
I get that. But when you go from 1,000,
well, what did he go from?
Everybody goes down. You can't have that big of a. My point is, again, to an average player, he hasn't had awful postseasons.
For who he is, no, I agree. I agree with that. I agree with you. He has
not been good enough in the postseason, and I don't even want to sound like I'm bashing Judge because he has carried this team for 3 years.
No, I understand what you're saying. You're not. Your standard for Judge in the playoffs is that he's the best player in the playoffs because that's what he is.
Not even. Season. No. I would disagree with that. That would be ideal, and that is what's going to give the Yankees obviously the best chance to win.
They need him to do that.
To be the best player in the league in the playoffs. But he can't be the 50th best player.
Okay. He needs to be among the best. Okay.
If he's a top 10 player in the playoffs, then okay. Because again, he's been so dominant in the regular season that to expect him to do that every single time is unrealistic. But you can't have such a significant drop.
So hold on a second. So I agree with you. First of all, I do expect him to be a top 5 or 10 player in the playoffs. I actually expect him to be the best player.
This is the year.
I think the Yankees need him to be.
Yeah.
My whole thing is that I'm pushing back on is the idea that I'm worried about him in the playoffs. He's not going to be able to do well. He struggles in the postseason. I don't think that's a real thing. I'm
worried about him in the playoffs, though. I think that
he just hasn't. But when we look back at his career, his postseason statistics are going to be great. It just doesn't happen the way everyone wants it to happen.
Are they?
He might have, whether it happens this year or next year, he's going to have a crazy postseason run.
You would think
because he's an amazing player.
Too good. He's too good not to. You would think. I tend to agree with that. My point, and again, it's not that I don't expect him to. It's not that I don't trust him to do so. It's that when you ask me who's going to have a great postseason, my answer should automatically be Aaron Judge. There shouldn't even be a second thought.
But your answer is automatically Soto. But
Yeah.
Dude, Soto's incredible.
I know, and it's really that's off of like one postseason run that he had 5 years ago when he was 20 years old or whatever. So it's not really founded in reality or data.
No, Soto has. When you watch Soto play, it's pretty clear that he gets up for the big moments. Like
exactly.
he does. He's one of those guys that gets more locked in, even in the regular season in big situations.
Big
it's so hard to get him out.
Yep,
but then
100%.
He does this thing, and like we kind of like it's kind of funny. It's like we forgive it. Like he'll do this thing like tie game, 8th inning, right? Runner on second. He comes up, great at bat, takes pitches, fouls pitches off, hits a single, go ahead run scores, everyone's hype, and then he decides to run for second and gets thrown out. And like you can't he does it every time. And this is not new for him. He did it with the Nationals. He did it with the Padres. He just gets like so excited, so caught up in the moment.
Yeah, he's young, he's still young.
So
or he
funny.
gets Glaber picked off of third base.
Yeah. Speaking of that, let's talk about things that we're concerned about. I want to talk about players about the Royals. For the Yankees, before we get into the Royals, I know because it's obviously Witt, right? Obvious.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me your number one concern for the Yankees, why they would lose the series. Number one. Give me one.
The obvious answer is defense, but I'm gonna say stupidity.
Stupidity. So that's a good answer because that kind of covers all of it.
Because it's like it's mental mistakes. It's stupid stuff that gives other team extra outs, that takes outs away from you, that gets outs out on the base path. Like it encompasses all of it. It's just like stupid shit that this team does. All the way to the best record in the American League. I get it. But if you watch as much as you and I watch, they do so much stupid shit. And I think that
a lot.
They're like the way that they don't make it to the World Series this year is by beating themselves because none of these other teams are better.
I agree. I was going to say the base running, which goes along with what you're saying, the stupid stuff. I mean, they just have guys that are. They just have guys that are. Yeah, it's a good umbrella term, but they just have bad base runners. I mean, even their good base runners are over aggressive and make those stupid mistakes, like Jazz. Jazz is an awesome base runner, so fast, but sometimes it's like, what are you doing, dude?
And they're smart base. Yeah, true. But I do like the aggressiveness because he's one of the few guys who can do it. But like,
he's just so fun to watch, too.
Yeah. And even the problem is their most intelligent base runners are league average speed.
Judge,
even Rizzo, and he's at this point below average.
Way
speed,
below league average, but yeah.
So, but like they're like intelligent base runners, but they just can't.
Volpe's a good base runner. Give Volpe credit,
sure.
And he's so fast, above league average speed. But he plays like he's much faster just because he's a good base runner.
Yeah. So
he's their only really good base runner, though. I mean, Jazz is too, but
Jazz just has the athleticism to do it. Volpe's a better mental base.
Agreed.
Runner, if that makes sense. So the base running, but again, it's not because of lack of athleticism. It's because of again, I'll use the term stupidity. I don't know what other term to use.
I do. It is interesting going into a series though, where the Royals are obviously the faster team, but the Yankees actually have speed now. With Jazz, with Dominguez, Volpe, they actually have speed.
Soto can steal a base, obviously, in the right situation. Judge can steal a base in the right situation, not as much this year, but yeah. So it's not as much of like, can they take advantage of things on the base paths? It's don't run into freaking outs.
How concerned are you about the Royals running on Wells? Well, Wells wasn't as bad. Wells was actually around league average in terms of controlling the running game compared to Trevino, who was a disaster.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened.
The Yankees, as a team, aren't very good at controlling the running game. So, and the Royals are really, really aggressive and space stealers.
I mean, it's a problem, and it's not going to go away, especially with this matchup. Like, they're not all of a sudden going to be a great team controlling the running game. The Royals aren't going to all of a sudden stop running. So,
I think
a concern? Yes. But the Yankees have no excuse not to win the series. So, like, sure, it's a concern. There are areas that the Royals are good at and are better than the Yankees at, but you should not be losing a home series to the Kansas City Royals. You just can't happen.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think the Yankees can counteract the running game with pickoffs. The Yankees actually picked off, I think, 11 base runners this year. The Royals were picked off, I believe it was the second or third most in baseball. So,
all right. So there you go. So something they can take advantage of. Use the aggressiveness against them.
Yeah, and then if you get picked off a couple of times, maybe it makes them less aggressive too.
Yeah, no, I think that's very fair. So, it's the Yankees aren't all of a sudden going to have a great defensive catcher who controls the run game, and you kind of just have to live with it.
But at least with Wells catching every game in the playoffs, it's better.
It's definitely better. Yeah. I don't know why Trevino fell off a cliff defensively.
What happened to him? He was the best defensive catcher in baseball 2 years ago.
Like, offensively, you can okay, like people fall off cliffs, whatever. But like, what the hell happened? He's not 40 years old. He just stopped being able to catch and throw.
He stopped being able to throw. His framing is still good, but yeah, by the way, speaking of framing,
is a blanket term, but yeah,
really quickly on the framing. I hate that it's a concept that you could trick umpires to thinking the pitch is a strike or a ball.
I can't wait till umpires all get fired.
We have to go robo-umps. There shouldn't be a strategy. There shouldn't be a metric that says, "Oh, this catcher's better at tricking the umpire."
When you put it that way, it's actually hilarious.
It's pretty funny. That's what it is, though. That's really what it is. No,
that is actually what it is. But the fact that it hasn't been implemented yet is insane. And like just even if it's not the fully automated strike zone, because there are a lot of issues with that, because the letter of the law strike zone versus what actually has been called historically that people are used to is very different. So like, how do you mitigate that? But like the challenge system, there's no reason that the challenge system that they're using in the minors, where you tap your head, like there's no reason that should not be in play, because there's so many obvious mistakes when it comes to home plate umpires.
There should be like when it's like so far, it's so clearly wrong. There should be that something they get dinged. Like no, that's actually a strike.
Yeah, and then you get the people who are terrible umpires all year, and then somehow end up umping home plate in playoff games. That's another issue. But
so all right, so let's talk about the Royals. Obviously, Witt's an MVP candidate. He'll probably come in second as a judge, but he's obviously the power, speed, on base, contact, combo, and then great defensive shortstop. He's the number one concern the Yankees have to deal with. He could wreck a series.
I mean, in every part of it.
After that,
Perez.
Salvi.
Yeah,
Salvi.
I don't even think that's close either. I think that's.
But you're not concerned about him at all?
No. I'm saying I don't think it's clearly Witt one. That's obvious, and I think it's clearly Perez too.
Salvi
obviously.
Too.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, and then they have Michael Massey, Freddie Fermin,
bunch of guys. That
Vinny P.
Yeah.
After that, it falls off a cliff.
I mean,
they're playing Gurriel at first base.
So they don't have a first baseman either. Okay, so we're the Kansas City Royals now. Fantastic.
Yeah, Tommy Pham.
He's bouncing around to every team.
He'll start against Rodon. So against lefties.
Yeah. So there are things that the Royals do well. They're not the Royals of old, obviously. Bobby Witt's elite. But the sea has parted, and the Yankees should be getting to a World Series, no questions asked.
Well, let's focus on this round first.
I know, but this is the first step.
I think in terms of the Royals' pen, we'll be seeing Urseg, who's looked really good.
Yeah.
Chris Bubik, and then Schreiber. You remember he was on the Red Sox for a while.
So the Red Sox. Yeah, I'm not as concerned about their bullpen, but I am concerned about their starting pitching. Obviously, like again, they need to win the series. They should win the series. They have three good pitchers. You can argue how good Michael Wacha is. He had a good year, but
Wacha. The thing about Wacha, dude, is he the non-ideal pitcher for Judge. He throws like the really good changeup down and in on righties. Just like the one thing Judge is an elite at.
I know. It's so.
See, I'm already giving you an excuse for him not to perform.
That's what I'm saying. Figure it out, dude. So,
no, dude, you know what's gonna happen? They're not gonna pitch the Judge. It's gonna come down to Wells, Stanton, Jazz. They're not going to pitch to Judge.
You know who I
If-
actually
if Soto's hurting them, they're not going to pitch to him either.
and I actually have a lot of faith in Stan because he's historically in my head. I actually don't know what his playoff stats are. He probably has.
No,
just
he
one-
has been
one
really good
elite
in the
year.
playoffs.
What was that? 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where he was the only person who got any hits. I think it was 3 years ago.
I think
that-
2020 against the Red Sox when he kind of got unlucky at Fenway where he hit like the Green Monster twice.
Yeah, so like I actually
That was
have
the year they
faith
had the
in
one
him-
game wild card.
in him to come through. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if you're an opposing manager, and this has been true for 3 years, how the hell do you let Aaron Judge see anything close to the plate?
In a big game like in like playoff games, no, you can't. You can't.
It's
I mean,
if
Austin Wells had a really
comes
nice
out and
season.
tears
but-
the cover off the baseball. Yeah, Austin Wells has been very good this year. Like much better than I was anticipating. But if he comes out and beats me as an opposing manager, like I can sleep at night. If Aaron Judge goes off in this series because we're pitching to him, like how do you justify that?
No, I don't think they're going to pitch to him. I really don't think they're going to pitch to him. They might not just like put up the four fingers and intentionally walk him, but they're going to pitch around him
Yeah, no,
just about
it's-
every time.
There's not giving him first base. He'll see pitches.
And he has to,
but-
but he has to stay disciplined. He's such a great disciplined hitter, which is a big part of what makes him who he is.
Absolutely.
He can't expand the zone just because they're not pitching.
No,
to him.
I do agree with that, and he's obviously
back-
been historically very good at that.
To what we were talking about earlier on, if Wells is not off to a good start in game one, maybe give him a second game. If he looks lost at the plate, he's chasing, he doesn't look good. You got to take him out of the cleanup spot. You can't just let someone.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to do that.
Because then
I'm not that
Judge has
confident that they're
no
gonna do that.
chance of seeing pitches. So
No, you need. yeah.
again, I get the
They
righty
have
lefty
options.
aspect of it. Like, but at
You
that
can get
point,
Jazz. You can go
put
Jazz
Jazz,
cleanup if you need to do
you
that.
can put Stanton behind him. You have options.
I do understand why they would really hesitate to put Stanton behind him because it makes it easier to bring in a reliever, righty reliever for Judge Stanton combo. But
That's fair.
the point is, you can't have an automatic out if Wells is struggling and looks lost and chasing. You
Yeah.
can't leave him in there.
No, I agree. And if you put Jazz up there, like you said, I really like the Jazz addition. Obviously, it's hard not to. Not that he should necessarily be a cleanup hitter, but yeah, it's like you said. If Wells looks lost, I don't know how long of a leash you have, because if Aaron Judge doesn't get to see any pitches because the person behind him is an automatic out, it's a major issue for this lineup, obviously.
I agree. I think the Yankees are going to need Soto and Judge to be on base a lot.
And
so-
they have been all year, so why stop now?
Yep. Well, all right, man. Well, Greg, thanks for joining.
Absolutely, man. It's been a pleasure.
We are going to hopefully watch a relaxing DS.
I don't know how relaxing it could possibly be, but hopefully not a nail biter. Let's say that.
So that will do it here. Thanks for watching. Give us a like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Philly pride insists that's all. Andrew Rappin and Wild Bulls. Together they talk sports and dreams. Right behind the scenes. It seems. Philly versus NY. Hit the call. Who's the greatest? Who will fall with this rivalry? Loud and clear. Join the chat. It's time to cheer. Sports and culture all in one. Catch the fire, feel the fun. Andrew, sis, that Brad unite. Philly and Y in the spotlight.